going on, Saners? Good evening, Saners. Wait for a few of you to tune in. I don't know how many of you were just watching that game, by the way. But, you know, credit where credit's due. Joshy Bruce kicked 10. He could still get stuff, but he kicked 10. So that was pretty unreal to watch. And, yeah, hopefully Max King can do something similar tomorrow. But we'll wait a few minutes and then we'll go through the teams. Let me know what you think. I've seen some of the comments already. Some good ones, some big ins for us. Particularly one that I think we've desperately needed for a while, and then a debut for Brad Crouch after serving his 2-game suspension, and then a couple of interesting ones. So we'll go through those. But if you have any thoughts, make sure you comment, and as always, we'll go through them. And yeah, pretty basic. I reckon we'll just get cracking now. So we take on Essendon tomorrow, 4:35 game. Bit of a pain to get tickets in the end again, particularly because it was an away game, so it wasn't that easy for a lot of Saners to get tickets, but hopefully a lot of you have ended up getting tickets. Essendon coming off the back of a couple of pretty bad losses. The first one was a bit indifferent. They got 40 points up against Hawthorn and just shit the bed really, and conceded a massive lead in the second half and coughed it up. That could have changed their season, I suppose, but they go down against the Hawks, and in the second game they travelled away to probably the best team in the comp, arguably on their home deck in Adelaide, in Port Adelaide, and they get done by 10 goals. And the main thing to come from that wasn't the loss itself. It was the injuries that they copped from that. So when you go through who they're missing, Dylan Shield, Jai Caldwell, the big one, Sam Draper. So we don't have to play a really dedicated ruck. And that's, I think, why Paul Hunt has been dropped. So we'll go through our team after this. And then Tom Cutler. They're debuting 2 players. I think one's going to play primarily ruck, and Wiedemann, and then they've got Perkins as well. So they're playing a very inexperienced team as it is. Before those injuries, they were struggling. Now missing probably their best outside mid, as well as their, one of the younger up-and-coming inside mids in Jai Caldwell, not to mention their best ruck at the moment, on top of Heppel and these sort of guys who they thought were going to get up this week, but they're not. They don't really have a strong, dedicated backline. When you look at it, they've got Laverde, they've got Zerk Thatcher, Aaron Francis, Guelphy, Ridley, and Nick Hind playing against his old team, and he's been pretty good for them off halfback. So, they've got the players that we need to worry about in McGrath, in Merritt. They're probably the main worries. Jake Stringer comes into the lineup, and he's probably the main danger, which makes me question why we've dropped someone like Ben Long. But if we can quell Stringer's influence, then I think that's pretty much where the game's going to be won. Overall, we should have the better team on the park. I want to score like what the Dogs did to North Melbourne just then, over 100 points. That would be nice. I don't know if we'll be that clinical like the Dogs were today, but anywhere upwards of a 40-point win will be enough to make up what we dished out last Saturday night, which was a massive letdown for everyone. It's been a long week just waiting for us to rebound, but we get our chance tomorrow against the perfect opponent, a weakened opponent where we can really play our game, flaunt our stuff, and kick a lot of goals, and that's what I'm hoping for tomorrow. Let's go through our end. So the big one for us is Brad Crouch coming in after serving his 2-game suspension. Dan McKenzie, the questionable one that a lot of people are a bit iffy about, coming in to replace Ben Long. Jimmy Webster's obviously injured. He picked up that, I think it was a head knock mid-game last week and was subbed off for Jack Bytel, I think. And so he's missing with the 12 days turnaround. I think he'll be back for round 4, all things going well. The big one for me is Jake Carlisle. I think he's going to play predominantly as a pinch hit in the ruck with McKernan. McKernan's probably going to take the bulk of the ruck, but I can see Carlisle having a big say there, and obviously playing his position at half-back, which is why I think someone like Tom Highmore's been dropped, which is a bit harsh. I thought he's been pretty good in his first 2 games of AFL footy. Paul Hunter, there's probably just not a position for him this week. I know it's easy to say that, well, he got tailed up by Gawn last week, and that's why he's omitted. But when you look at Essendon, they're missing Sam Draper. They don't really have an experienced ruck at all, or a second ruck, mind you. So we would just be playing him for the sake of the position, and around the ground he offers little. So you'd prefer to have someone like McKernan, who's a bit more mobile, Carlisle, who's a bit more flexible, can go back, can go forward, can go ruck. And he's a player that you want to get minutes into, because you're leading into a game next week where you play West Coast and they've got a shitload of talls. You need your tall players, particularly players like Carlisle that can intercept mark, play on, the darlings and go back and relieve pressure and take the heat off Dougal Howard, who had to basically do everything on his own last week. And that puts Wilkie back into his normal position. He doesn't have to play that second tall, and Caulfield can hopefully get back into that more intercepting, rebounding style of footy that was so good for us last season. So this is getting back to what we did last year, getting Carlisle back, and getting Brad Crouch into the middle. The last inclusion is Mason Wood. That one's a bit of a surprise. I don't think we really need him. I thought we were already tall enough as it is. We've got Battle, we've got King, we've got Membry, Carlisle's in, McKernan's there as well. So I don't know why we'd play him. The only thing I can think of is we're probably putting McKernan heavily into the ruck, and that takes him out of the forward line, and we still want that third tall, and Mason Wood can offer that. But then you've got Josh Battle there as well. So, what do you do with him? He hasn't done much in the last couple of weeks. He kicked a goal against Melbourne. He kicked a goal in round 1. But apart from that, he's kind of been in limbo, and I want the club to really find a position for him. If we don't play Carlisle consistently, my thought would be to play him at centre half back and turn him into a Darcy Moore 2.0 sort of player. Darcy Moore started forward, very good mark of the ball, and a great kick. And for me, Josh Battle's got basically the same attributes. I don't see why we couldn't put him back and help out the defence even more. But for this week, when you look at man-on-man, strength to strength against Essendon, we should pretty much dominate from start to finish. The only risk with this is when you play against teams like Essendon, who are missing a lot of their stars, missing a lot of really good players, they're low on form, low on confidence, they've got nothing to lose, and that means that they can just go helter-skelter, they can play fast, they can play through the corridor, go for risky kicks, and if they pay off, well, we're in trouble. But on the flip side, that means a lot of turnovers, a lot of mistakes on their end, and they might run out of gas pretty quickly. So that's the only risk for me. Is you don't like playing teams with nothing to lose. You want teams with a bit of pressure on their back, with expectation. But Essendon have none of that, and we have all of that, because we're expected to win for the second week in a row. We're expected to win and play fast, exciting footy under the Marvel roof. And it's probably amped up a little bit more now because of what we dished up last week. The pressure's on because we are expected to bounce back. And if we don't bounce back, going to the West Coast game and then the Richmond game followed by a Port Adelaide game in Adelaide, you need to find form somewhere. And this is the game to find form. And Brett Radden all week has said, last week isn't a trend. Those mistakes from Brad Hill, those mistakes from pretty much every player on the park apart from Jack Steele last week and Dougal Howard, that was not a trend. So they need to back up those words. They need to prove that it's a one-off and go out there and go back to what was so good last year for Saints footy, and to play fast, play frenetic, and have good disposal efficiency, and just take your chances and don't rush. If we're doing all of that tomorrow, if we take our chances, we don't rush, then we'll be fine. And any win upwards of 7 goals would be nice. Get some percentage. It's going to be hard to catch the Bulldogs, who I think climbed about 50% today alone from their domination of North. But if you go 2 wins from 3, and the one loss is really a loss where you just didn't play your game and it was a one-off bad loss, you'll take that every day of the week. So this is a good chance for us to find form. Equally, we've got some incentive. Jack Steele's playing his 100th game. And then you've got Hunter Clark playing his 50th game. So that adds to it. We want to deliver. Last week we couldn't deliver for Spud Frawley. The whole situation was beautiful pre-game and in the lead up to it, but the boys didn't live up to the hype. And let's hope that we get the chocolates tomorrow and then we move on to West Coast. And from what I've heard from internally, Paddy Ryder is due back early next week. Monday, Tuesday, I've heard. And then Rowan Marshall, I believe, is playing a bit of about 3.5 or 3/4 in the ruck for Sandy this week. So he'll get a lot of minutes under his belt. They'll clock his Ks. He'll run as hard as he can for those 3/4, take him off. And then he's very likely, probably an 80% chance to come back against West Coast, which is going to be desperately needed with the height that they've got. And if we can get Paddy Ryder back, then essentially, guys, we're close to full strength again, minus Geary, minus Ben Patton, and we're looking the goods there. So if we can get Paddy Ryder and Rowan Marshall back next week, leading into West Coast, that's awesome for us. But the job is at hand now is to just get the win against Essendon and to take advantage of their shortcomings, take advantage of their low confidence, and be ruthless. Last year we were ruthless against them and Sydney, but apart from that, we didn't really dominate too many teams from start to finish. If you want to look at ruthless, look at the Dogs. That's exactly the template there. Just keep going. Don't take the foot off the gas. Just keep playing your brand. The scoreboard will take care of itself, and we'll get the win. So that's enough for me. I think it's a fairly straightforward game for us. I'll just scroll through the comments. I don't think all of them have come through, so apologies if I don't read them all out. A lot of people watching, which is great, so thanks for that, guys. Let me know what you think of the Mackenzie inclusion too. A lot of people think it's a bit harsh on Ben Long, but when I was looking at his stats last week, he had 14 disposals, about 60% efficiency, which was one of the lowest on the ground. And for a player that's playing in a defensive position on the ground, he's playing back pocket, he had 0 tackles. So I think, I think that's probably sending a message to him that, yes, you had 14 possessions, you played a decent game, but you laid no tackles, and that's something that, you can't question with this team is every week you want effort. And if you're laying 0 tackles, like Dan Butler, Jack Higgins and Loney, who had 1 tackle between the 3 of them, they're very lucky, by the way, to be playing this week, all 3 of them. I was expecting maybe Loney to get dropped, but very lucky there. So they backed them to rebound, but, there's more than just the Ben Long that need to lift. And he's a bit of a scapegoat. I don't know why they dropped him. I thought, he's one of the more physical players on the ground, but it could be a matchup reason. They've got Tip and Woody. I think maybe Ben Long could have gone to Tip and Woody. And then they've brought in Stringer. So you could have played maybe Wilkie on Stringer there, but it is what it is. They've made the changes. There's clearly a reason for it. Rats is kind of not usually one to make wholesale changes after a loss. He tends to back the team to rebound, and I like that. It puts the pressure on the players again. Like, JB, mate, you got to back that up. Or, Dan Butler, you've only kicked 1 goal in 2 weeks, mate. You didn't lay any tackles last week, which you were number 1 for in the AFL last year. I'm backing you again to do the job. So I like that. It just adds to the pressure, but it means that if they don't back it up, then there's going to be more players on the chopping block come the West Coast game in a week. This one's from Matthew Membry, All-Australian. Yeah, I know I said that in the podcast, I think, a couple of weeks ago. It's going to be hard to do, but if you can kick 40 goals this year in a normal season, that's under 2 goals a game, roughly. You'd think he'd be in the question for the 40, but there's a lot of good forwards in the league, and with the longer quarters, longer games, there's going to be a lot of players kicking bags like Josh Bruce did today, so it'll be hard, but he just needs to play his role for us. Let Max King kick the 10s, and we'll be happy with that. This one's from, I think, Caroline. Let me just get it up. Everyone's saying a massive winning margin, that would be nice, but we need to get the 4 points in the bag first. We can't afford complacency. That's a good point. I think that was actually from someone else. But good comment nonetheless. Just need to win. That's from Peter. Yeah, some people have said to me, Jake, I know that you want a big win, and everyone wants a big win against a struggling team, but just the 4 points to go 2 out of 3, a 1 point win would do. And I kind of agree, but at the same time, 1 point win against a team like this, that's as good as a loss to me. I know that everyone wants the 4 points, but I want to find form in this game. If we play this game exactly like last week, but we only win simply because Essendon aren't as good as Melbourne, to me, that's no improvement. Every week, you want to play, no matter who you're playing, you want to improve. And we've got the perfect template tomorrow against a team that's going to let us play our game. They're going to play fast too, but that means that it's going to be slingshot, and we're at our best when teams play fast. We're not at our best when we play against teams like Melbourne. They force us down the line. They force us to bomb. We like space, and I think Essendon are the perfect team to give us that space. They're going to run. They're going to go for it. They've got some runners in the team, but that's going to mean space for us, and I hope that we utilise that to maximum effect. Matthew says, the two-way running Bradley Hill, turnover king. Yeah, look, he kicked it. I think he kicked it over 60% or so last week. And to be honest, he wasn't the only person to stuff up a few kicks. But you're not going to drop Brad Hill. You're simply not. If Jack Steele has a game where he has 30 kicks and 15 of them miss the target, are we genuinely going to drop Jack Steele? Because that's the precedent that it sets. If you have a one-off game, the coach isn't going to back you. And to be honest, his kicking in every other game has been perfectly fine. He kicked a ripper goal against the Giants, copped a bit of a knock, and then last week the bad form was contagious across the whole team. Everyone was playing badly. So I guarantee you that we're going to see a different team tomorrow overall, and definitely we're going to see a different Brad Hill. A few comments about Brad Hill, but I don't think we need to go through that. I might wrap it up there, guys. I might keep it quick because I know that everyone's got some Easter commitments and it's Friday night. We've all got plans. But as I do, I love to do the previews no matter what. So I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any more comments, comment on the video and I'll respond when I can. This video is also going to be up on YouTube in a few minutes, so you can watch the replay there. And we've covered the game in the Saints TV podcast as well. So you can head over to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere there. And me, Marshy and Joycey have covered the game as well. But yeah, we'll hopefully get the win tomorrow. And I'll see you tomorrow, guys, for the review after the game, as always. So until then, have a great Friday night. Enjoy time with your family and friends over Easter anyway. And we'll chat tomorrow after the game. Go Saints. Thanks, guys.